Chapter 561. Linger, your grandfather came just now, why didn't you come out and say a word? I thought you two were not at home. David did not answer Sonia, but looked at Ji Linger with some puzzlement and asked. My grandfather will definitely tell me to go home when he sees me, I don't want to go back. Ji Linger he smiled and said. I really can't help you. David shook his head helplessly. David, you haven't answered me yet, where are you going? Sonia asked David again. There is an antique exhibition and auction in Kyoto, and I'm going to follow the ancients. David said as he said. Great, we're going too, Sonia said happily. Yes, let's go too, it just so happens that I still have friends in Kyoto, and there are people to entertain. Ji Linger also nodded again and again. David looked at the two of them, and it seemed that the two of them had planned to go with them for a long time. I don't care. Tomorrow you can follow the ancients. After David finished speaking, he went back to his room. Early the next morning, Tang Long, Ji Wenshin's personal bodyguard, came to pick up David. As soon as the car stopped, Ji Linger and Sonia got in, and Tang Long couldn't stop it. Seeing this, David could only helplessly get into the car. After picking up Ji Wenshin, seeing Ji Linger and Sonia also in the car, Ji Wenshin was slightly taken aback, but in the end he smiled and said nothing. Ji Wenshin sat in the co-pilot, while David and Sonia and Ji Linger squeezed behind. David sat in the middle, and Ji Linger and Sonia were on the left and right. It's cheap for you, our two beauties are with you one by one. Sonia whispered in David's ear. David was speechless for a while. He knew that Sonia sat like this on purpose. This was to test his endurance. And Ji Linger's face was a little red at this time. Apart from saving her, she had been in such close contact with David in the hotel. Ji Linger had never sat with David so closely before. Now feeling the breath of the man on David's body, Ji Linger's eyes kept looking out the window, and her heartbeat started to speed up. The co-pilot Ji Wenshin looked at the rear-view mirror from time to time, looking at David's unlovable expression in the back row. A slight smile appeared at the corner of his mouth. Ji Linger's mind, he, the grandfather, understands it best, but Ji Wenshin did not stop him. If Ji Linger could really follow David, Ji Wenshin would raise his hands in approval, even if he only did it by David's side. A confidant. Mr. Chen, in this antique exhibition and auction, Hong Kong businessmen will bring a lot of masters, and sometimes they will refine some magic tools on the spot. Mr. Chen can take this opportunity to exchange with those masters about refining tools. I heard about China and Hong Kong. Yuan Baozhang, the first feng shui master, personally refined a magic weapon for the richest man in Hong Kong and China, avoiding a car accident. Now in China and Hong Kong, many wealthy businessmen will treat these masters of magic and feng shui as their guests. These people still have some strength. Ji Wenshin turned his head and said to David, he was also trying to ease David's embarrassment. It's just a trick to deceive people, how can magic tools be so easy to refine? David smiled slightly. The real magic weapon is the connotation of the law of heaven and earth, and it must be operated by the formation. Even the jade pendant that David refined for Sonia can only be regarded as a defensive magic weapon that has just started. Ji Wenshin saw David say this, and stopped talking. The atmosphere in the car became very quiet, and he could only hear the sound of the car driving fast. After more than 5 hours, the car drove into Kyoto. The prosperity of Kyoto is not comparable to that of Horindal, even the capital of Zhongbei province. The towering high-rise buildings and the endless traffic flow express the fast-paced lifestyle of Kyoto. Chapter 562. Everyone is in a hurry, running around for life. And just when these ordinary people were running around for a meal, in the most prosperous area of Kyoto, a Christie's auction house, covering an area of tens of acres and a dozen stories high, stood there, and there were countless thousands of auction houses in the auction house. The wealthy merchants flowed endlessly, admiring the various antique porcelains on display. Anything in this place can't be earned by ordinary people in 10 lifetimes. Even when these rich businessmen visit, they are cautious and keep their distance, because they don't know which item here will be priceless. Let's find a place to eat first, and then go to the antique exhibition and auction. Ji Wenshin suggested. Everyone nodded, and they were indeed a little hungry after taking the car for so long. At this moment, David's cell phone rang. It turned out that it was Zhao Wuqi who called and asked David if he had come to participate in this auction. After David told Zhao Wuqi that he had arrived in the capital, Zhao Wuqi was very happy to personally invite David to welcome him. Originally, what David wanted to refuse was too troublesome, but thinking that there might be a place to use Zhao Wuqi in Kyoto, David agreed. Zhao Wuqi chose a quaint Beijing restaurant. Seeing David and the others arrived, Zhao Wuqi hurriedly got up to greet them. Seeing Ji Wenshin also following, Zhao Wuqi hurriedly said with a smile, Ji, I didn't expect you to be here too. Pavilion Zhao. Seeing Zhao Wuqi, Ji Wenshin hurriedly saluted. Not to mention that he has retired now, even when he was on the throne, he would have to give salutes when he met Zhao Wuji. Ancient, you don't have to be so polite, you are an old senior, wouldn't this kill me? Zhao Wuji said with a smile. Ji Yulinger and Sonia also greeted Zhao Wuji. Mr. Chen, sit inside, I've arranged everything. Zhao Wuqi invited David and the others into the private room. After entering the private room, David and the others were not polite. They ate while chatting. After all, they were already hungry. Mr. Chen, a lot of people participated in the antique auction this time, and Chin Shaoxin of the Chin family will also participate, so I hope Mr. Chen will restrain himself at that time, but don't worry, I will also warn that Chin Shaoxin so that he will not be right. Chen did it. Zhao Wuqi said to David. Although he knows that David is not afraid of the Chin family, but if he really wants to fight on such an occasion, the impact will be very bad. He, the pavilion master of the Kyoto Dharma Protector Pavilion, has an inescapable responsibility. Don't worry, Pavilion Master Zhao, as long as the Chin family doesn't trouble me, I won't take action. David said lightly. This Chin Shaoxin has always been arrogant. If it wasn't for me back then, he would have died in a foreign land. How could the Chin family have the current glory? Ji Yu Wenchen said with anger on his face. Back then, with the help of Ji Yu Wenchen's resources and connections, the Chin family slowly developed in Kyoto, and they also asked Qin Feng to get engaged with Ji Yulinger. For the Qin family, Ji Yu Wenchen also spared no effort, but in the end Qin Feng unilaterally broke off the engagement. The Qin family has also become a wealthy family in Kyoto, and they directly look down on their ancient family. As Ji Yu Wenchen retreated, the strength of the Ji Yu family was even worse than before. He was directly left behind by the Qin family, and he couldn't even see the shadow. Now, when the Qin family was mentioned, Ji Yu Wenchen felt aggrieved in his heart. Grandpa, the previous things still say what it does. Ji Yulinger frowned slightly and said to Ji Yu Wenchen. Zhao Wuqi also knew some things from the past, and smiled a little embarrassedly. The Qin family was indeed unscrupulous in order to develop, and more than the ancient one was used by the Qin family, so there is no need to take the ancients too seriously. Chapter 563. Ji Yu Wenchen sighed and didn't say anything. He was used, it's too late to say anything now. After eating, Zhao Wuqi personally accompanied David to Christie's auction house, in order to prevent Chin Shaoxin from looking for David's trouble. As soon as he walked into the exhibition hall, David felt waves of aura fluctuations. It can be seen that there are genuine goods among these antiques, but the aura fluctuations are very weak. The hall of hundreds of square meters is filled with various antiques, all covered with glass covers, telling their own history under the spotlight. Mr. Chen. At this moment, there was an exclamation. David looked and found that it was Bai Zontang. After seeing David, Bai Zontang walked over quickly. Mr. Chen, I didn't expect you to come too. David smiled slightly. When did you come back? Is Miss Shen okay? I came back yesterday, specially for this auction. Meng Chen is doing well, and now Xuanyu Valley has entered the formal stage. Bai Zontang said. Hearing this, David felt relieved a lot. After all, Shen Dianshan was for himself, so he would use up his longevity and return to heaven ahead of schedule. Zontang, is this Mr. Chen? At this time, an old man with Tong Yan Hefa came over. Grandpa, this is Mr. Chen, Bai Zontang said, explaining to David. Mr. Chen, this is my grandfather Bai Shushan. Old Bai, David nodded slightly. Mr. Chen is really a talented person. There are dragons and phoenixes among the people. My Bai family can do things for Mr. Chen. It's really fortunate for 3 lives. Bai Shushan is extremely respectful to David. Bai Shushan's attitude made many people around him look at him, wondering why the head of the dignified capital of the Bai family was so polite to a young man and said such a low-key thing. Patriarch Bai knows people with discerning eyes, no wonder your Bai family can endure for a long time. Zhao Wuqi praised Bai Shushan from the side. It is obvious that Bai Shushan also knows David's true identity, which is why he is so humble. Knowing that there is a cultivator behind the family, this will instantly increase the strength of the entire family. Gata Master Zhao is joking, don't you also see that Mr. Chen is not an extraordinary person? Since Zhao Wuqi followed David around, Bai Shushan had already guessed that Zhao Wuqi also knew David's identity. In this way, Bai Shushan's guess is correct, David is indeed a cultivator. Ha ha ha. Zhao Wuji laughed a few times. Mr. Chen, please let us in. The exhibits here are just ordinary things, and the real treasures are all inside. Bai Shushan made a gesture of invitation to David. David nodded slightly and followed Bai Shushan towards the lobby. But at this moment, David felt a killing gaze, and then a middle-aged man walked over with a gray-haired old man. The middle-aged man's eyes were full of killing intent, so he wished he could swallow David alive. Looking at the middle-aged man's eyes, David didn't have to think about it, he must be from the Qin family. Sure enough, when the middle-aged man approached David, Bai Shushan's face turned cold and stood in front of David. Chin Shaoxin, what do you want to do? Master Bai, I just want to say a few words to this kid. Why are you so nervous? The dignified Bai family has become their dog, so they will protect the master so soon. Bai Shushan's face turned cold, while Bai Zontang, who was beside him, rushed forward with a vigorous step. Chin Shaoxin, tell me one more FCU king word. When our adults are talking, is there a place for your junior to interrupt? Chin Shaoxin's eyes narrowed slightly, followed by a burst of momentum, which directly shook Bai Zontang back again and again. Zhao Wuqi helped Bai Zontang, then looked at Chin Shaoxin and said, Chin Shaoxin, this is the Christie's auction house. If you dare to make trouble, don't blame me for being rude. Chapter 564. Gate Master Zhao, I just want to say a few words, is this also illegal? Chin Shaoxin said with a playful smile. Zhao Wuqi didn't speak, just looked at Chin Shaoxin coldly. What do you want to say, just say it. David took 2 steps forward and looked at Chin Shaoxin lightly. Chin Shaoxin glanced at David up and down, and said with a gloomy expression, Boy, no matter what kind of strength you have, if you dare to kill my nephew, my Chin family will never let you go. When you come to Kyoto, don't think about leaving. Now. David didn't care about Chin Shaoxin's threat to David, but the people next to him were all stunned. They never expected that David was the one who killed Chin Feng. This is the younger brother of the Chin family. If he wants to kill him, he will kill him, and he dares to come to the capital. He is simply too daring. At this time, many people were deeply interested in David's identity. They dared to kill Chin Feng and provoke the Chin family. Moreover, Bai Shushan and Zhao Wuqi were such respectful people, their identities must not be simple. If you feel that Chin Feng's death is not enough, you can continue to provoke me. David said with a cold smile. Chin Shaoxin's eyes widened, his bones rattled, if it wasn't for Zhao Wuji and Bai Shushan here, he would have already done it. Boy, you have something, let's wait and see. Chin Shaoxin said, and turned around with the old man into a room in the lobby. Mr. Chen's direction, in Kyoto, my Bai family will definitely go all out to protect Mr. Chen comprehensively. Bai Shushan said with determination. David smiled and nodded. David followed Bai Shushan into another room in the lobby, but only David and Bai Shushan could enter, and everyone else was blocked outside. After entering the inside, I saw that there were also some antique porcelain inside, but the number was obviously much smaller, and the spiritual energy inside was more full, proving that these antiques are older than the outside. In the middle of this room, there is a large 8 immortals table, surrounded by Taishi chairs, and 2 people are sitting in the middle. One of them is a gentle middle-aged man wearing glasses, and the middle-aged man is beside the middle-aged man. It is an old man, looking at the extraordinary temperament, quite the flavor of the fairy. Mr. Chen, this is Zhou Jiaolong, a Hong Kong businessman. Sitting next to him is Yuan Baozhang, the first master of magic in China and Hong Kong. This time I heard that Zhou Jiaolong brought an ancient magic weapon, so he invited Master Yuan. Those who entered this room are all the big families in Kyoto, and the others are not qualified at all. Bai Shushan introduced to David in a low voice. David nodded. There were not many people sitting around the 8 immortals table. There was an old master beside each of them. It was estimated that he was invited to identify the authenticity and skill of the magic weapon. Chin Shaoxin took the old man and sat there too. Bai Shushan took David to sit opposite Chin Shaoxin, and beside Bai Shushan there was also a silver-haired old man, wearing a white button-down shirt. His body was a bit gloomy, and his eyes were half closed. Mr. Chen, this is the master he I invited, who specially slapped the eyes for me. Bai Shushan followed David's introduction, and then said to the Master He, this is Mr. Chen. Then Master He ignored Bai Shushan, didn't even look at David, and said indifferently, Patriarch Bai doesn't trust me, why did he find someone else? Master He misunderstood, Mr. Chen just came over to take a look, and I still have to ask Master He to take action. Bai Shushan hurriedly explained. Although David is a monk, Bai Shushan does not think that David can surpass these experienced masters in terms of antique instruments. After all, he specializes in art. Yeah. Seeing Bai Shushan's explanation, Master He nodded slightly. Chapter 565. The Hong Kong businessman Zhou Jiaolong, who was sitting on the main seat, looked at David, then looked back and said, Everyone, we are all old friends, so I don't need to be polite. This time I brought a few magic tools, one of which is Master Yuan. Those who have been polished and refined by themselves can ward off evil spirits and prolong life. After Zhou Jiaolong finished speaking, someone stepped forward and placed a few wooden boxes. It was obvious that there was the magic weapon that Zhou Jiaolong mentioned. Everyone's eyes were attracted by the wooden boxes, and they wanted to know what treasures were inside. In addition, the magic tools polished by the first magic master in China and Hong Kong must not be wrong. Looking at the eager eyes of everyone, Zhou Jiaolong smiled slightly. We are still the old rules, the one with the highest price wins. If no one of your family bids, then I will take it to the auction outside. We are old relationships, so good things still have to be chosen by you first. Boss Zhou, we all know the rules, you'd better take out the things first and have a look. Someone said impatiently. Zhou Jiaolong nodded, and then opened the first wooden box. When the wooden box was opened, a burst of coolness hit, and then the whole room felt a hint of coolness, and everyone's spirits were lifted. I saw a black bead placed in the wooden box. It looked very ordinary, and even had no luster. If it wasn't for the coolness when the wooden box was just opened, it is estimated that no one would follow such a bead. Device compared. Everyone, this is one of Master Xuanzang's rosary beads. It has been infused with incense all the year round. This bead has the effect of cooling off the heat, refreshing the mind and praying for blessings, and this rosary was also cast by Master Yuan, which can condense feng shui and make the business of the bosses prosperous. Zhou Jialong introduced, with a bit of pride in his tone. Seeing what Zhou Jialong said, everyone asked the master they invited for advice, wondering if the rosary was real. Master He, do you think this rosary is real? Bai Shushan asked in a low voice. Then Master He's eyes were still half closed and half open, and he never looked at the rosary, but said lightly, it's just a fake, it's just ordinary things. When Bai Shushan heard this, his brows slightly wrinkled. Master He, Boss Zhou said that this is Master Xuanzang's rosary, and when he just opened the wooden box, the cool breath was very obvious. Bai Shushan couldn't believe it. How could this rosary be a mortal thing? If you don't believe me, I can go. Master He's tone was a little displeased. No, since I invited Master He, of course I trust any master. Bai Shushan said quickly and apologetically. David glanced at Master He, but he didn't expect that this guy still has some skills, and he is not a person who makes a name for himself. This rosary is an ordinary thing, just an ordinary wooden bead, but it was slightly manipulated by someone, so when the wooden box is opened, there will be waves of coolness. Others also discussed with the master they invited, and soon there was no voice. It seems that the routine has come to an end. Everyone, you can now make a bid on the rosary. The one with the highest price will get it. The reserve price is 3 million, and each increase cannot be less than 100,000. Zhou Jialong saw that everyone had finished discussing, so he smiled slightly. But when Zhou Jialong finished speaking, there was no one bidding. Everyone looked at each other and no one made a bid. It seemed that they all knew that the rosary was fake. Seeing that no one has bid, Zhou Jialong was slightly taken aback, and seemed a little surprised. Everyone, this rosary is definitely worth the money. If no one bids, I will take it to the auction house outside. After Zhou Jialong finished speaking, there was still no bid, which made Zhou Jialong look a little embarrassed, and occasionally glanced at Yuan Baozhong next to him. Chapter 566. Boss Zhou, the people who can sit here are not ordinary people. We have all invited the master to hold the eye, maybe not as good as the Master Yuan of China and Hong Kong, but you can still distinguish the true from the false. You can use an ordinary wooden bead to deceive we, this is a bit unreasonable, isn't it? Chin Shaoxin said to Zhou Jialong with a little dissatisfaction. Chin Shaoxin's words immediately embarrassed Zhou Jialong. What did Boss Chin say? I bought it with a lot of money, if you think it's fake, then I'll put it in the auction house outside, we have cooperated for many years, how can I might deceive you? After finishing speaking, as soon as Zhou Jialong waved his hand, someone immediately took the rosary away. Immediately afterwards, Zhou Jialong opened the second wooden box. When the wooden box was opened, there was a rusted bronze mirror, as if it had just been dug out of the soil. When Zhou Jialong took the bronze mirror out of the wooden box, there was a sudden humming sound, and then everyone felt a dazzling light shoot from the bronze mirror. Everyone, this bronze mirror has a history of thousands of years. I heard that this bronze mirror is used by C0 and CUB. Neiyang, which can ward off evil spirits. As Zhou Jialong said, he suddenly took a picture of the bronze mirror towards the crowd, and everyone saw that in the bronze mirror, black clouds above their heads, their faces were pale and hideous. This time, everyone was so frightened that they all looked over their heads, and then looked around again, and found that there was nothing unusual at all. As long as you look at the bronze mirror every day, all disasters can be avoided. Zhou Jialong put away the bronze mirror and continued. It's really good stuff. Master He, who had been half closed, opened his eyes and said excitedly. Master He, do you think this bronze mirror is real? Bai Shushan is overjoyed. Master He nodded. This bronze mirror is indeed a magic weapon, but it has the ability to avoid disasters. Seeing what Master He said, Bai Shushan was overjoyed and prepared to take down the bronze mirror. And the old man beside Chin Shaoxin was also whispering in Chin Shaoxin's ear. He didn't know what he was talking about, but after hearing it, Chin Shaoxin was also full of excitement. Seeing everyone's performance, Zhou Jialong smiled slightly. Everyone, the base price of this bronze mirror is 20 million, and each bid will add at least 1 million. I'll pay 20 million. As soon as Zhou Jialong finished speaking, Bai Shushan couldn't wait to shout. 21 million. 22 million. Some bidders began to compete, and the competition was fierce. 30 million. Chin Shaoxin suddenly shouted out 30 million directly. 40 million. Bai Shushan directly increased the price by 10 million, it seemed that he was bound to get it. Old Bai, this bronze mirror doesn't have the ability to avoid disasters, it's just an ordinary antique, and this bronze mirror is stained with a lot of grievances. David whispered to Bai Shushan to persuade. Mr. Chen also understands magic weapons. Bai Shushan was taken aback. Just a little bit. David said lightly. HMPH, even at a young age, I dare to say anything. Do you know that the practice of magic can't be successful without decades, and the identification of this magic weapon requires extremely high experience? You have not grown a hair. Quan Gai, dare to say a little bit about it. Then Master He looked angry and reprimanded David in a cold voice. David said this, it means that he was wrong, how could Master He not be angry, not to mention that David was only in his early 20s, Master He felt even more insulted. Master He, don't be angry, Mr. Chen just said it casually. Bai Shushan hurriedly explained, for fear that Master He would get angry and leave if he walked away. Chapter 567. If you understand, you understand, if you don't understand, you don't understand. How can you use age to measure it? You only succeed after practicing for decades. It proves that you are stupid, but it does not mean that others are not. David said coldly. Boy, what did you say? Master He was furious and slapped the table and said. Seeing David quarreling with Master He, Chin Shaoxin was so happy that he could just watch the joke on the side. Master He, don't be angry, don't be angry. Bai Shushan hurriedly got up and persuaded Master He. Patriarch Bai, where did this kid come from? He's so arrogant. Now let him get out of here, or I'll leave. Today there is him without me, and I without him. Master He roared at Bai Shushan. This time, Bai Shushan was dumbfounded, and his expression became very ugly. He can't afford to offend these two people, and neither can leave, but now the words of Master He make him very embarrassed. Master He, it seems that the Bai family doesn't take you seriously. For a hairy boy, it goes against Master He's intention. If Master He doesn't dislike it, you can come to my Chin family's side. How much money does the Bai family pay? My Chin family can afford it. Chin Shaoxin started to fan the flames at this time. After Chin Shaoxin said this, Master He became even more angry, glared at Bai Shushan and said, Patriarch Bai, are you going to offend me for this kid? Bai Shushan's face was worse than crying now, and he secretly looked at David, only to see David sitting calmly, as if nothing happened. Master He, Mr. Chen is a distinguished guest of my Bai family, so. HMPH, then I'll go. Before Bai Shushan could finish speaking, Master He snorted coldly and walked out with a flick of his sleeves. Master He stays behind. Seeing this, Chin Shaoxin hurriedly stood up to stop Master He. Master He, the Bai family has no eyes, but my Chin family has always admired Master He. If Master He doesn't dislike it, how about being the hand-eye of my Chin family today? Master He looked at Bai Shushan and David, and then nodded. Okay, since Boss Chin looks at me, I will give Boss Chin a good look today. Master He sat beside Chin Shaoxin, and the old man beside Chin Shaoxin was sent away by Chin Shaoxin. Seeing this, Bai Shushan sat back a little embarrassedly and looked at David. Old Bai, you made a wise choice today, you won't regret it. David said lightly. In the future, the Bai family will be covered by Mr. Chen. Bai Shushan said in a low voice. Okay, the Bai family has paid 40 million. If no one is bidding, this bronze mirror will belong to the Bai family. Zhou Jiaolong said lightly. I offer 45 million. Chin Shaoxin hurriedly bid. After Chin Shaoxin made the bid, the others all looked at each other and did not follow the bid. Although Bai Shushan liked it very much, David didn't nod and could only watch the bronze mirror being taken away by Chin Shaoxin. Immediately after, there were treasures, but David did not let Bai Shushan take action. Instead, Chin Shaoxin, under the persuasion of Master He, received almost every piece in his hands at a high price. Bai Shushan was anxious in his heart, but he didn't dare to say anything, but Chin Shaoxin's smug look on his face almost didn't make Bai Shushan angry. Master Bai, you don't believe in a master of magic like Master He, but you believe in a hairy boy, even if he is young and powerful, but the magic is not martial arts, anyone can practice it casually, so do you. You have lived for a while, but in the end you were deceived by a little hairy child, don't you want the whole capital to follow you and be embarrassed? Chin Shaoxin said proudly. Bai Shushan was speechless and could only stare at Chin Shaoxin fiercely. You won't be able to laugh in a while. David picked up the cup of tea in front of him and took a sip. Chapter 568. Ha ha ha, Chin Shaoxin laughed loudly. Really, I want to see how you make me laugh. Okay, there's one last piece. I paid a lot of money to ask for it. This magic weapon is very powerful. Since you have all invited Master Zongan, let you all have a look and see who can activate this magic. The formation on the device. Zhou Jiaolong said, opened the last box, and saw a gossip plate that looked like a mahogany carving. Because of the age, the wood was mottled and covered with dust. When the gossip plate was taken out, everyone put their eyes on it, but there was nothing special about the gossip plate. It was like a piece of rotten wood. If it was thrown on the street, no one would pick it up. All the Palmai masters took the gossip plate and looked at it carefully, but they didn't find anything special, even that master he frowned slightly and shook his head. Only David sat quietly, motionless, without looking at the gossip plate. He originally thought that this antique exhibition and auction would receive some goods, but he didn't expect it to turn out to be a scam. This gossip plate is actually a piece of rotten wood, there is no magic circle in it, and it is not a magic weapon, so these Palmai masters can't see anything. Master He. Chin Shaoxin looked at Master He and asked in a low voice, what's so special about this gossip plate? Master He shook his head. This gossip plate looks ordinary, and there must be something in it. I only glanced at it now, and I'm not sure. Then can Master He activate the magic circle on this gossip plate? Chin Shaoxin asked excitedly. It's hard to say, but I'm 50% sure. Master Ho said. Everyone, you've all seen it, but do you know what's so special about this gossip plate? Can someone open the magic circle inside? Zhou Jiaolong asked with a slight smile. This time, the Palm Eye masters looked at each other, but no one said a word, because they couldn't see anything. You are all masters of magic, you can't even see a small gossip plate, right? Zhou Jiaolong said in a slightly sarcastic tone when he saw that no one was talking. I'll try. Master He was agitated, picked up the gossip plate and prepared to study it carefully. Seeing Master He like that, David snorted coldly, a bunch of ignorant guys, looking around with a piece of rotten wood, what can they see? Seeing David snorting coldly, Master He frowned. What are you laughing at? Can't you activate the formation on this gossip plate? Laugh at you ignorant and fearless. David said lightly. You, Master He's face turned cold, and he gritted his teeth angrily to attack David. Master He, don't be angry. Following this ignorant child's fighting spirit will ruin your reputation. Since this kid is so arrogant, we can compare and see who can see the special features of this gossip pan. Who can activate the above formation, and the losing party directly takes out 200 million to the other party, how about it? Chin Shaoxin said, and set his eyes on Bai Shushan. Master Bai, since your Bai family treats this kid like a god, do you dare to compare with us? We're here to buy things, not to compete. What's the comparison? Bai Shushan did not agree. In his opinion, even if David was a cultivator, he would definitely not be as good as that Master He. After all, the other party had been cultivating for decades. Ha ha ha, are you cowardly? Chin Shaoxin laughed proudly. Is this still a comparison? It must be Master He who won. So many of us didn't see it. What can he see as a child? That's right, the fool knows the result, who will compare? Although 200 million is not much for the Bai family, no one is willing to throw money away in vain. Everyone was talking about it, and no one was optimistic about David. Chapter 569. Listening to everyone's discussion, Bai Shushan looked at David embarrassedly and said, Mr. Chen, I'm not afraid of throwing 200 million. 200 million is nothing to my Bai family, it's just. Bai Shushan wanted to explain to David that he did not agree to Chin Shaoxin, nor did he feel distressed for these 200 million. But before Bai Shushan finished speaking, David waved his hand to interrupt Bai Shushan's words, and then looked at the proud Chin Shaoxin and said, since you want to bet, I can play with you, but 200 million is a bit too much. Less, it is not exciting at all, let's bet a little bigger, I have 2 billion here, just bet this money. David took out a bank card and threw it on the table, looking at Chin Shaoxin coldly. Seeing that David's shot is 2 billion, everyone is stunned. It is not easy to know that David can spend 2 billion at his age. Even if he is a child of a wealthy family, who will give 2 billion at this age? Pocket money. Chin Shaoxin was stunned for a moment, then sneered, just throw out a bank card and say there are 2 billion. Do you think 2 billion is waste paper? Chin Shaoxin doesn't believe that David can come up with 2 billion, because he has already sent someone to investigate David. In a small place like Horrendal, there is no such a arrogant family, not to mention that David is only an ordinary family, how could there be 2 billion? Chin Shaoxin, if you don't believe that Mr. Chen has 2 billion, then my Bai family has it. If Mr. Chen can't get the 2 billion, my Bai family will get it. Bai Shushan gritted his teeth and said to Chin Shaoxin. 2 billion, even if the Bai family is a wealthy family in Kyoto, it is not a small amount, but in order to curry favor with David, Bai Shushan is willing to pay this money. Okay. Chin Shaoxin raised the corner of his mouth. Since your old man Bai has spoken, of course I believe that your Bai family can come up with 2 billion, then we will bet 2 billion. After Chin Shaoxin finished speaking, he looked at Master He with a heavy expression on his face and said, Master He, thank you for your troubles. When I win that kid, I will give half of it to Master He. When Master He heard it, his face was full of excitement. This half is 1 billion, which is an astronomical figure for him. Don't worry, Boss Chin, I will do my best. Master He nodded. This is where everyone focused their attention on Master He, to see how he saw the special features of this gossip pan, and what method he used to activate the array of the gossip pan. And that Zhou Jiaolong followed Yuan Baozhong to look at each other, and a flash of joy flashed in the eyes of the two of them. With a bet of 2 billion, no matter what the price of this gossip plate is, the price cannot be too low. This time they came to Kyoto, and they made a lot of money. Seeing Master He holding the gossip plate and reciting words in his mouth, Bai Shushan felt a little nervous. He glanced at David from time to time, but found that David had a calm face. Disc, it has nothing to do with yourself. Mr. Chen, have you already seen the usefulness of that gossip plate? Seeing David's calm and confident look, Bai Shushan couldn't help asking. Seeing Bai Shushan asking this, then Chin Shaoxin and others also looked at David, wanting to know if David really knew the use of this gossip disc, otherwise how could he bet 2 billion? But who knew that David shook his head and said nothing? Seeing David shaking his head, Chin Shaoxin burst out laughing. Master Bai, I've already said it, he's a little boy, does he know what a magic weapon is? Has he ever seen a magic weapon? You really take him as an onion. When the others heard it, they also laughed, and the laughter was full of irony, which made Bai Shushan's face ugly. Chapter 570. Just as everyone was talking, they saw that Master He's originally slightly closed eyes suddenly opened, put the gossip plate on the table, and lightly tapped with his fingers. The original modeled gossip plate seemed to have been painted over. All of a sudden it becomes so new that it can even shoot back a silhouette. When everyone saw this, they all exclaimed, and Chin Shaoxin was even more surprised. Master He is a master of magic who has been practicing for decades, and he is different when he makes a move. Master He's face showed a trace of smugness, and then he saw a red light flashing on his hand, followed by a red light on the entire gossip plate, as if some treasure had descended and the whole room was enveloped by this red light. Everyone is like a spring breeze, and they are very smooth. But soon, the red light slowly subsided, and the room returned to calm again. Master He, do you already know the magic of this gossip plate? Chin Shaoxin asked excitedly. Master He nodded. This gossip plate is really not an ordinary thing. It contains the Dao Zhengfa. If my guess is correct, this is definitely left by the ancient immortals. Hearing Master He's words, people's eyes were full of greed, and even Bai Shushan couldn't help staring at the gossip plate, wanting to take it for himself. Looking at the performance of the crowd, Zhou Jiaolong burst into laughter. Now, if the price is auctioned, this gossip plate will definitely sell for a good price. Boy, it's up to you. Should you also look at the origin of this gossip plate, and then let Master Yuan of China and Hong Kong decide, and see which of us is right? Chin Shaoxin looked at David and asked. Everyone looked at David, wondering what method David used to activate the magic circle of this gossip disc. But who knew that David didn't even take the gossip plate, and said lightly, a piece of rotten wood, what is the origin? A group of masters, but they are complacent with a piece of rotten wood. I really don't know how you have practiced all these years. Achievement. David's words made all the masters in the show furious. Although many of them did not see the role of this gossip plate, since Zhou Jiaolong dared to take it out as the treasure at the bottom of the box, it would definitely have something special. There is Yuan Baozhong sitting next to him, and all of them think that this gossip plate is a treasure. This is a preconceived notion, coupled with Zhou Jiaolong's rendering in advance, which makes these Palmai masters think that this gossip plate is a treasure. The reason why they can't see it is because their strength is too low. This is like the emperor's new clothes. Although everyone can't see anything special, no one dares to say it, and it means that they are not strong enough to say it. But now David directly pointed out that this was just a piece of rotten wood, which made these Palmai masters unable to sit still and felt insulted and provoked. Especially Zhou Jiaolong and Yuan Baozhong, although they both knew that this gossip plate was a piece of rotten wood, but David said it in public, it was very bad for them. What does this little brother mean? I bought this gossip plate with a lot of money, and Master Yuan has also seen it. It does contain a formation, and it is a rare magic weapon. You actually said that it is a piece of rotten wood. If you don't speak clearly today, don't blame me for being rude. Zhou Jiaolong said with a gloomy expression. Yes, Master He just activated the magic circle, and you even said that this gossip plate is a piece of rotten wood. I think you can't do anything about it yourself, can't you find the special feature of this gossip plate? Chin Shaoxin also took the opportunity to ridicule David. Is it rotten wood? I believe they know better than me. I don't think I need to explain some things. David glanced lightly at Master He and Zhou Jiaolong, and when the two touched David's eyes, they could not help but dodge. Chapter 561. Linger, your grandfather came just now, why didn't you come out and say a word? I thought you two were not at home. David did not answer.